We're very fortunate to have with us Francisco Pichon, the resident coordinator for Cuba, and Gregoire Gutstein, the humanitarian coordinator ad interim for Haiti, who will join us virtually. I see you both. So first, Mr. Pichon, the floor is yours to talk about the situation in Cuba. Hold on. Can we get his audio, please?
Now,
all right, try
can
again.
you hear me?
Yeah. You're good. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. Good morning to you all from Havana. I will very briefly provide some highlights of the emergency situation in Cuba, what the national response has been so far, and the support that the UN is providing on the ground. Melissa is now classified as one of the three most powerful hurricanes ever recorded in Cuba, the strongest worldwide in 2025 so far. And it made landfall directly in the province of Santiago de Cuba. And for 6 hours, it battered eastern Cuba with very heavy torrential rains and sustained winds in addition to 200 kilometers per hour. And we have registered heavy rainfall across the 5 eastern provinces in Cuba, with a lot of destruction in urban and rural municipalities. Now, with respect to the preliminary assessments of the impacts of the storm, more than 3 million people were exposed to these life-threatening conditions. About 32 municipalities in 4 provinces of the eastern part of Cuba, and this includes the second and the fourth largest city in the country, Santiago de Cuba and Holguin. But this information is still preliminary. So far, no fatalities have been reported. But, however, the authorities have indicated that near 240 communities are cut off due to the flooding and the landslides. So it's really still very preliminary. In terms of damages, a lot of housing destruction broadly. Critical infrastructure also affected, including health facilities, schools, power lines. Telecommunications has been a challenge so far. Also, food production has been compromised after such extensive damage on crops and farmland. Now, in terms of the national response, despite Cuba's conditions, Cuba has demonstrated the strength of its civil defense system, which is grounded on many decades of disaster preparedness. More than 735,000 people were safely evacuated to protection centers, and many of these protection centers were schools that were repurposed temporarily for such protection centers after the classes were suspended. Still, I should say that the needs far exceed the response capacity of the country. And I think, colleagues, the eastern territories hit by Melissa are also the same areas devastated a year ago by Hurricane Oscar and 2 earthquakes, for which the UN is implementing an underfunded recovery plan. We visited those areas, and the conditions for those municipalities that were affected a year ago by Oscar are really quite severe. So the current emergency is also, I should say, compounded by droughts in the area, and also by a serious epidemiological situation with the rise in arboviral diseases, and also a very delicate energy situation with frequent blackouts. And I like to also say that due to the blockade and the sanctions, the country is excluded from international financial institutions and also from many global markets. And this makes very difficult for the country to finance disaster response. And I think so. Broad support from international cooperation partners is really needed. And now, finally, in terms of the response of the UN system, we, for the first time this year, implemented a new anticipatory action framework supported by OCHA, the Office of Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. And this anticipatory action mechanism allow us to intervene prior to the event, to the hurricane impacting the country. And this is quite important for us because it helps us adapt to some of the restrictions to bring humanitarian goods to the country. So it strengthens our strategy for pre-positioning of goods in the country. And prior to Melissa hitting Cuba, about 5 UN agencies deploy pre-position assistance near the affected areas. And I think this is a very important intervention which help us make very smooth transitions towards the after event support. We appreciate the support that the SERF, the Central Emergency Response Fund, has provided to support this mechanism of anticipatory action. The country, I think, ability to respond and to prepare and improve the pre-positioning is quite key, as I said, for a country under sanctions such as Cuba to support his humanitarian response. We have at the moment 2 colleagues from OCHA together with us supporting our UN country team in these efforts. Broad support is required, and for that, the UN and the national authorities, the civil defense, the local governments are right now busy preparing an action plan to assist around 2 million people who are considered to be in greatest needs across 6 different humanitarian sectors, which are food security, health, education, shelter and housing, water and sanitation, and logistics. And we are working to launch this plan in the coming days. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear from Gregoire Goodstein, the humanitarian coordinator at Interim for Haiti. Wait. Hold on. I think it takes a second for the audio to kick in. Please connect Mr. Goodstein. Thank you. Try now? Nope. Hold on.
Unmute. Okay, what about now?
Yeah, you're set.
Yes.
Please, go ahead.
Great. So thank you for inviting me for this briefing. So as you know, Haiti was also hit by Storm Melissa. Over the last several days, it swept across Haiti's southern departments, and it moved gradually north at a very slow speed, which brought torrential rains, flash floods, and of course landslides. Unfortunately, a number of lives were lost, homes were damaged, or at least as well as destroyed. Roads have been cut off, and many families have been displaced. The death toll for now stands at 24 people who have died. Some of you might have seen the video yesterday. There's at least 10 that were killed because of the overflowing river in Petit Goave. We have about 17 people injured and still 18 missing. Close to 15,000 people were sheltered in 120 plus temporary shelters, mainly in the Sud, Nip, and Grand'Anse departments. And of course, there's been significant agricultural losses in many departments, including banana plantations, fruit trees that were destroyed, food crops that have been destroyed, saturated soils, and of course, access is a big issue. I wanted to highlight the fact that as Cuba, we here in Haiti also benefited from a fund that was set up last year, which is called the SURF Anticipatory Action Fund. And this allowed for the unlocking of close to $4 million to ensure rapid preparedness. And I want to note that I was here during Hurricane Matthew back in 2016. And I could see the real difference that having funding in advance, which allowed for preparedness and planning, made a real difference. So by October 22nd, the UN agencies were able to deploy a lot of resources. Communities were mobilized, emergency stocks were transported and put into place. We had a few hundred evacuation shelters that were also opened, cleaned up, made ready to functions. You have to keep in mind a lot of the families, when they left their homes, they prioritized women and children to be put in those evacuation shelters. Food, water, hygiene kits, medication, shelter materials were all pre-positioned in high-risk areas. And of course, we had rapid response teams that were deployed in sync with national counterparts. I think a big plus in the preparedness was also the fact that we were able to send out early warning messages to many parts of Haiti. I think I heard that there were close to 3.5 million messages that were sent out informing families of the danger and giving them clear indications on what to do, including going to evacuation centers. So I think that really played a big role in terms of saving lives. I want to also highlight the very proactive engagement and coordination that we had with national authorities, especially the Directorate of Civil Protection, la DGPC as we call it here, which really ensured that many lives were saved and that there was a lot of operational coordination throughout the response. Which, of course, the response is continuing. We haven't made a full assessment, humanitarian assessments, because of access difficulties. Is still ongoing, and we're going to take a few more days to better understand the full impact of this hurricane, including the human toll, casualties, injuries, missing people, and of course, infrastructure, houses, etc. And we hope to be able to inform you on the next phases of our response and recoveries. We have to keep in mind that this all comes on top of an immense humanitarian crisis that Haiti has been facing for a number of years, right? We have 1.4 million people that are displaced because of gang violence, including with very severe and widespread gender-based violence, children at risk of recruitment by gangs, immense psychological distress amongst the displaced population. So all of this is coming on top of the very critical situation that we're facing now. There's also 5.7 million people, which is about half of the population, that is going hungry every day. We also have flashpoints of cholera, including here in Port-au-Prince, in the capital. So we're also having a public health emergency on top of all the existing vulnerabilities. And then finally, I'll add that our humanitarian response plan is grossly underfunded. It's 87% underfunded, and this is really putting at risk our ability to continue with life-saving operations, whether it's linked to the hurricane or to the existing crisis linked to gang violence. So I'll stop here.
Okay, thanks very much. I'll now open the floor for questions. Yes, Evelyn?
Yes, Evelyn Leopold. Was there a looting of your supplies in Haiti because of the gang violence that's going on there?
No, we haven't had any reports of any looting of supplies, nor of any supplies being redirected or taken over by gangs.
That's good. Any further questions? Yes, Linda.
Excuse me. So, just to clarify, what is the most important thing you need right now, in terms of dealing with the hurricane?
Is this for Haiti?
Yeah, is that for Haiti or for Cuba? For Haiti.
I mean, for both,
Oh,
but for
okay.
Haiti to begin with.
Gregor, maybe you first, and then Francisco.
But like I mentioned, because of still significant access issues, there are roads that have been destroyed, towns that are inaccessible right now. Thankfully, we do have UNHAS, but also because of the weather, we've had to interrupt a lot of the flights. But it's clearing up now, even as I speak. I think it's a weather that allows for flights to happen. We need to do the assessments to really understand the extent of the damage and the human toll. But essentially, what we're looking at is securing the funding that we need to actually implement the response plan that we have throughout the country, not just linked to the hurricane response, but also linked to displacement and the gang violence. So what we need right now is the funding. We have the teams on the ground. We have the coordination structures with the government, but we don't have the resources.
Francisco?
Yes, thank you for the question. As I indicated, broad support, I think, is needed from international partners. At the moment, we are preparing a UN action plan, which is a key instrument for us to mobilize resources. And given previous hurricanes in this part of the country, normally the needs are focused on food assistance, health, repair of health facilities and recovery of health facilities, schools, infrastructure is also affected, shelter and housing. There is generalized damage, particularly housings with lightweight roofing materials. There will be needs in water and sanitation, and also on logistics, also given the impact on the infrastructure. So we also are conducting the assessments. We will have different visits to the areas affected in the next few days, and we hope to complete this action plan and launch it with our cooperating partners in Cuba in the next few days. Hopefully next week, early next week. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? If not, I would like once more to thank our guests, Francisco Pichon, the resident coordinator for Cuba, and Gregoire Goodstein, the humanitarian coordinator at Interim for Haiti. Thanks very much, and best of luck in the days ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.